Hello, my name is Maria. I'm creative and editor at the Camp Gallery, and today I'm going to be joined by my beautiful colleague, Brianna Luz Fernandez, who's a creative and curator at the camp as well. And we're going to be talking about our artist of the month, Mario Rossi. He's an Italian photographer. Hi, Mira. Here she is. So, hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hello, and Mario is in the comments. Hi, Mario.
Hi,
Ciao.
Mario. Hola, ciao.
Ciao. um, nice. I'm really excited for this.
Me too.
This is the first time, well, we're trying something new in terms of lives.
Right.
So it's really
Um,
exciting.
yeah, and I think it'll be nice to give this Artist of the Month some well-deserved airtime.
Yeah. It's funny because I was thinking about like this season of at least in Miami, like the season in the industry, and it like really slows down significantly.
In the summer,
Um,
you mean?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so looking at all of Mario's works, like in preparation for this live, it kind of made me yearn and like feel excitement for the season to return.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, me
Yeah, I'm
too.
excited to talk about it. I think also the pieces that we both chose to talk about are different and like appeal to us for different reasons, which just speaks to the brilliance of the artist, but also to who we are as people. So I feel like this conversation is going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Well, why don't we start?
Do you want to start?
Sure. We can give a little background. So obviously, as you can tell by the title, the artist of the month is Mario Rossi, who was born in Naples, Italy in 1961, but is now based in Rome. And he's been involved in photography since the late 70s, and influenced heavily by the avant-garde movement, which began in Paris but met him when he was a young photographer in Italy in the late 70s.
God.
Um, and a huge thing for him is geometry, which we'll be able to show the pieces, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So you guys watching will be able to see. Um, It's the forms and trace elements, mathematics, music, harmony, symphony, and all of these things are super prevalent in his work.
Yeah.
And
As well as like a spatial, like a sense of space that's really geometric. Again, like if you're watching, I have an iPad with me. I'm going to be showing the works that we picked, Brianna and I, and this is going to be very obvious.
cool, yeah. Um, so you want to just go? You want to go into it?
Sure. Should I start or should you start? I can start.
Um, you can start. Yeah,
Okay. So my first pick is Mysterious Girl 3,
love it.
from 2018. Me too. I always pick this whenever given the chance to talk about Mario Rossi. This is like my
Yeah.
favorite of his.
Why is
Um,
that? Do you think?
I Well, first, I really like how there's only one figure in his work. Like, generally, there's like a bunch of people, sometimes even superimposed upon each other, like different exposures. But with this
Right.
one, there's just one person, and she's off center, like, she's not even directly in the middle the way you would expect with portraiture.
Right.
And ultimately, I really like that there's like a sense of secrecy because Mario's works often, at least in our sphere, I feel like they're talked about in the context of the social environment.
That's
But
so
I
true.
believe that this is just as much the social environment, especially nowadays and like post pandemic. I mean, this is from 2018.
Right.
Um, this is what the social environment looks like largely.
Right.
Um, so I quite like it. And also, like, the world is alive even when this is what we're experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
If I could just say too, I love that because I mean I do agree, obviously, and we can all attest to this that that's been sort of our reality for like
mhm.
the past year or over a year at this point. But also just in that photo, I do get that sense of secrecy and like isolation, but I also still feel connected. And I don't know if it's because you have the other boxes that don't have people, but they have light, they have some sort of like activity. So
Yeah.
even in that isolation, that person is still seen, which is nice. And I feel like is rare when you think of isolation, you know?
Yeah. You're very right about that. I didn't even notice because even the hues are different.
Yeah, right? It gives
Like it
them
needs
like
shade.
type of variety.
Mm-hmm. Which piece, what's your first piece?
Um, we can do Vitra House,
Okay,
if you don't mind. I'm just plugging in my phone
if
here.
you don't mind. This is Beecher House. It's from 2019.
Yes. Okay, so what I love about this piece, and honestly all of the pieces that I chose to highlight, is that it kind of reminds me of like a video lag when you're watching a video or like a time lapse. Um, but I love that it's the same person. And it reminds me a lot of just the raw, basic experience of being alive. Like you kind of feel fragmented from your past self, from your future self. You don't necessarily feel that continuum, but at the same
Oh,
time, oh,
sorry.
no, it's okay. But at the same time, it's still all painting one picture.
Yeah,
Um, and for me personally, I love art that speaks to just basic truths about being alive because there's something grounding about it. Um, brings me comfort. And I feel like this piece simultaneously makes me anxious, but also like very comforted, I suppose.
yeah.
That's the
It's
word.
really visceral how, like, I don't know. I didn't even know it was the same person until you told me. So I'm kind of shook, to be quite
I'm,
honest.
I'm pretty sure it's the same person.
It is.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I have to agree with you. Like, just how, like, especially that video lag detail,
right.
because we also lag as people, clearly.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't know,
No.
I guess also in the world of social media, at least for me, I'll speak from the eye perspective, like you try to portray this cohesive image of oneself, but that's really not possible. Everything is always in flux. Like we're always changing. We're not the same as we were the day before. Um, and
That's
this piece
true.
really like embodies that.
Hmm. I think that's a really good segue for the next piece I chose.
Oh,
Um,
I love
yeah, which which is Sudoku con Albieri, and it's from 2010. So this is it.
love.
And I believe it's like the same doorway,
Yeah,
like throughout the day or just throughout time. And I think it kind of speaks to what you were just saying about the flux, like of life.
right.
Yeah. And I also think that it speaks to how beautiful the mundane can be. Because
Absolutely.
this is just a regular day.
Absolutely.
Like this is always going to be regular, at least for this doorway, you know, or for whoever's going into it. Because I don't fully know what building this is. Um, so I really like it, and it doesn't like I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think it's like these two have like this voyeurism, or all of these are like voyeuristic in nature. Um,
Yes,
but I
absolutely.
don't think voyeurism. We hear the word and like it has this like weird connotation. But sorry. Um, um, but this is
Yeah,
just like a regular day, somebody just observing, and especially in terms of like futurism, where like it's tied to like an urban environment. The
right.
mundane doesn't really look as mundane as we think it does, or it doesn't evoke like a sense of mundane.
Right. And I love how you like made that point of how he's bringing out the beauty in the mundane. And I think a lot of that has to do with one, the way the individual photo is taken, the way the doorway is a little bit off centered, but you have like the different shades of the building sort of split evenly in that square, and
Hmm.
the photos are stitched together. Like you can really see how geometry has influenced his sensibility in creating this. And even like when you observe nature, or at least when I do, like you can see the patterns in things. Like there kind of is a pattern to the chaos and to the mundane. And this really also um, brings that out and sort of
Yeah.
relying on that truth again.
Yeah, I think it just I agree with you. And it like harkens back to his like love of futurism, his influence. Um, because it is I fully what I was gonna say. I'm like, you're really throwing me a curveball, Brianna.
Why?
So deep. So
You
like
see,
I'm listening
capital
to
T,
you
capital T.
because after you say something, I'm like responding, and then the weight of what you've just said like hits me like a ton of bricks.
I love.
um,
I don't know.
Bru-
That's making me feel honestly.
it should make you feel good, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. If I could segue into one. Maybe we could do. I don't want to say it wrong. I think it's che.
Okay, I think.
Yeah, che. Okay. Che frete, 2018.
This one's kind of similar to the one we were just talking about, but just the spatial sense is like
That's why I wanted to
different.
bring it up. It's also similar, like I said in the beginning, a lot of the pieces that I chose to speak on are similar to each other, and that they remind me of um, like a video lapse. But I
Mm.
love that this is featuring different people, but in the same motion and sort of in the same body shape.
Yeah.
Because it's just once again like instilling that idea that even though we're fragmented as individuals, we do occupy the same space. We do make the same shapes. Like we are the same thing, even though we may feel different and apart from each other.
Mm. Wow. Sorry.
No.
I'm just sitting with what you're saying. No, yeah, I think we've learned, especially in the last year, like that we don't have to be like super close together to be experiencing um, the same moments in time and space.
Right.
Mm. Um, no, and also like that again, I think I was saying this earlier. I began to say this earlier before what you said hit me. It hit. Um, no, that like they don't. We often, again, back to futurism, where there's like a link to the urban environment. We always think of like something gritty,
Mm-hmm.
and the same with mundane. We always think of something boring. And he really subverts like these ideas that we have, and he does a really beautiful job of capturing like I guess relationships that we don't know we have with
Right.
each other, just as members of the same group.
Yeah, that's like a really great point. I didn't, I think like I understood it at some level, but to hear it vocalized, it's,
It
uh,
hits.
wow, he really does like elevate the mundane and makes it look appealing and beautiful. Also, I wonder if, at least for me, I would react the same way to these pieces we had experienced quarantine, Like I wonder in the ways that that has like changed our
Conception.
and did we both say consumption?
I said conception,
Ah,
but I use that word improperly.
but yeah, of just art in general, but especially his work. Like I don't know, it feels very timely.
Wow. I love serendipitous moments, and we seem to experience them a lot
Yeah,
at the camp.
I knew this was gonna be a good combo.
No, yeah, I mean, I think that if we hadn't and weren't still, experiencing um, social isolation, global pandemic, I think that maybe, and I'm just it's hypothetical. I think that maybe we'd be looking at these and trying to just think about like, oh, nobody's connected and nobody, we're so removed from one another, the impacts of social media, that whole song and dance.
Right. That's very true.
Yeah, and after a year spent like reflecting whether or not you wanted to, I think we look at something like I think it's que frete.
Yeah.
I think so. It's very much like sorry, I'm being photographed. Um, it's so easy now for like I think our first instinct to be like, we're not alone.
Yeah, it's just crazy how like this pandemic really changed our perception. I don't know, that's like really hitting me right now. Just looking at these.
Yeah,
I really agree. I would have like really had that interpretation of like you said, social media and we're separate and all of that jazz. But it has
yeah,
meaning now.
absolutely. Because even looking at the other three that we've spoken about previously,
Hmm.
um, I guess in no specific order. So the first one, or your first one, Beach or House.
Right.
This is one person, so like, how would you conceive of this post-pandemic? It's kind of similar. Whereas pre-pandemic, it would probably be like, I don't know, you
Uh,
can only rely on you or something like that, like
that's,
something cynical.
yeah. Yeah, I would have had a very more like individualistic point of
Mhm.
view on it.
With this one is, oop, not that one. With this one as well, I think.
Yes, for sure.
Hmm.
For sure.
I love this. I love that we're able to have these conversations,
Me too.
um, featuring beautiful work.
Also, anyone who's watching, like if you want to add to the conversation, please.
Yeah,
Because
please do.
this is great stuff.
um, so my third choice,
Love this choice. BTW.
yeah, I can't stay away from this series to begin with, the Soul Land series.
Yeah.
And I'll show it in just a moment. I can't stay away from it,
I,
honestly. Um, but I just to preface it a bit, looking at them like alongside earlier works, because the Soul Land series is from 2020. So it's the most recent
mhm.
of all these pieces. Um, Looking at it, I think it kind of embodies what we just spoke about, how like pandemic has impacted even just our critical eye or the way in which that we're critical.
Yes.
Um, and so I'm just going to show it because I can't stop looking at it. This is Solan 35. And it's like markedly different from everything we've just looked at. I do think though that it's not so different, like maybe just visually, but I think that the way that Mario Rossi looks at urban scapes translates perfectly to a natural scape.
Hmm.
Because just like I think we tend to forget that we're part of the natural world, and so seeing um, an artist who primarily looks at urban scapes venture into this realm with the same approach, it's almost big facts. Yeah, it's almost it's like a marriage
Yeah.
of the world that we live in with like the world that we actually live in. Which one is which?
Right. And I also love, like you said, when you compare it to the rest of his portfolio, the
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know, the breadth of space that he's providing. Because a lot of his other works, even if they're not necessarily like saturated with figures or saturated with a lot of chaotic things, they do feature more intimate moments, more close-up moments, but he's
Mm-hmm.
giving space to like breathe and take it all in. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate that that's like a part of his of what he offers to the world. Um,
Yeah. Did you notice that there are people in this piece, like in this photograph?
I saw one. I thought I saw one person. Oh, now I see there's like four, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's like a perfect marriage of like or to use a word that you often use, like a juxtaposition
Love that.
of like his sense of space
Right.
and his perspective with just like his body of work in general. Like it fits so beautifully in.
It does.
Yeah, and just the colors. I think these are all flowers.
That's beautiful. In
Hmm.
like a lot of ways, I sort of wish we spoke about this one last because I feel like it serves as a perfect conclusion to everything that we have spoken about. Um,
It's okay. We can make future predictions with the next one.
that's true, I guess. Even though the next one, if you want to pull it up, is from 2019, so we're going back a year. Um, but I love this one. I mean, wow.
Donna con bottiglia. I don't speak Italian. I'm very sorry.
Thank you for saying that one. You took one for the team because I knew I was gonna butcher it. I mean, I don't know like what more I can say that's different from how I was looking at his other pieces, but um, what I like about this one is the movement isn't necessarily organic from the person. I think
Mm,
it's more from the editing, if that makes sense. You know, like frame on top of frame. Um, and to me, it just reminds me of like moments when I zone out into space. And I feel like I'm traversing some type of landscape when I'm really sitting still. Um, so I just thought that was a really interesting way to capture that type of phenomenon, you know?
yeah. It's interesting because the way that he plays with like exposures and time and again space, whether it's, you know, an expanse, like a natural expanse like this,
Hmm.
um, or, you know, a hotel room or a doorway or somebody just like, you know,
Chill.
hanging out, minding their business or waiting for somebody. The way that he plays with it is so layered, I think emotionally, at least that's how I perceive it.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that also speaks to his like influence from music, harmony and symphony, and that playing with time and vibration and like light and exposure. Um, wow, yeah, that's so cool. Like the more we talk about it, the more I'm like falling in love with this because I really do personally love art that like it reminds me.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I touched some. I don't know how to use an iPad.
um, I don't know, but like this, I feel like this his work can really help you transcend like just your linear thinking. You know, like life really is a lot more than we think it is in the normal day to day.
I just like that you said linear thinking, but like, uh, oftentimes when I'm looking at Mario's work, I'm like drowning in thoughts of like how time and space is not linear.
Yeah.
So maybe thinking shouldn't be
I mean,
linear either.
that's a whole other
That's a
topic.
different conversation.
It truly is because I mean, we can get into it for a hot sec if you want, but
We really could.
I feel like society wants us to think linear, but art is here to help us go in all the directions, you know?
Oh, spoken like an artist. Mm, I froze. Aw, okay. Well, thanks for joining me all the way from New York, Brianna. I'm freezing. I'm frozen, I think. Anyway. Um, okay, we're good. So, no, I was. Um, it's okay. Can you hear me? Oh. Mm-mm. Um, but so, I'd like to thank you for joining me today. I'd like to thank everybody for joining Brianna and I. Oh. Um, so yeah, if you want to see more of Mario Rossi's work, you can check out our viewing room. The link is in our bio. Um, and stay tuned. We're going to be experimenting a lot more with our artists of the month and having camp on camp conversations. We're, oh. As always, if you have any questions or inquiries, you can DM us. Um, if you're interested in seeing more, you can just follow us if this is your first time seeing us, meeting us. And that's it. So thanks again.